Hey everyone, it's Andy here from the Commander's Brew. This episode of Lost Cards features Volo Guide to Monsters. It's from the deck that we brewed of the very same name, but it's got a bunch of different takes on it with some new cards that you didn't see in that episode. Check it out. Okay, here we go. It's Lost Cards. It's Volo Guide to Monsters. He's created an entire guide just to tell us about all the different monsters, all their stat block, everything. Although, which I guess in this point is just the abilities and the power toughness. So, because this is Magic, we're not talking about D&D here. Yeah. But this is a super fun deck that we put together. You can check it out. It's currently here on YouTube. Follow the little thing that pops up that takes you over to that deck if you have not seen it yet. I do suggest you check it out because it was a lot of fun. We had a kind of a bouncing creatures back to our hands, a mix with some sacrifice, just general good value type stuff, a lot of ETB abilities, and then we just overran our tokens into a big win, ideally. But there's a lot of different takes for this commander, just because it is so flexible. Doubling up, there's so much value involved in that, but it's got a really restrictive part, right? The thing about Volo that's kind of tricky is this idea that you can't share those creature types. Like, that is a key part of Volo, obviously, but how can we get around that? And that's kind of what some of the other brews we were thinking about, like, aim to get around. So I'll just... Sean, why don't you just say this first one?
Right. The first one's pretty genius. It's Shapeshifter Tribal, right? Like, all the clones start as shapeshifters, but they won't enter as shapeshifters. So you just have to make sure you pick something. Okay, well, now wait a second. Now I'm thinking about it, but it's a cast trigger.
That's right.
Oh, because once it becomes something, it won't be a shapeshifter anymore.
That's
so
right.
You're going to cast a shapeshifter, make a copy of that shapeshifter, but there will never be shapeshifters on the battlefield. You just got to be careful nothing dies, because once one's in the graveyard, then it falls apart pretty quick.
Yeah, that's exactly why I didn't go down this route with the main deck, is because, there's ways around that. Don't get me wrong. You can put this deck together. Actually, I think it would be really fun.
It's neat ways to eat your graveyard.
Yeah, Volo is just a decent shapeshifter tribal commander, oddly enough,
Yeah.
because you get those doubles. Like, it doesn't even have to be a Volo deck necessarily. It can be shapeshifter tribal and we just have Volo as our commander for when it makes sense for us. So we're not so worried about the whole when one dies, will we ever get to do this again? But that being said, you can run stuff that gets around the the graveyard thing. Something that was brought up in our brewing was Scavenging Ooze.
Oh, that's a great one. There's millions of ways to pull things out of your graveyard in green.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's even a couple that will just pull them right out. Like, there's Back from the Brink. Is that the card? Yeah, Back from the Brink is an enchantment that lets you just basically exile the card from your graveyard to cast them again. And it comes out as a token. So if you're working with Volo and you've got some of those token doubles, Back from the Brink can be a really good card to put in this shapeshifter tribal deck that you've got going on.
I like it.
What else we have here? Oh, so that's one way to get around the thing. You can really shirk the rules with a deck where you kind of just do the same stuff we talked about, but you do it including humans and wizards. If you listen to the main episode, you'll know that I mentioned that there's that's why we didn't include any humans or wizards, because Volo is a human wizard. Well, something like a natural selection gets us around that. It's an enchantment. You can pay 1 to choose a creature type other than wall, and the target creature's type becomes that type until end of turn. So you can just pick something that you don't have that Volo is. You can make Volo like a homunculus, and then all of a sudden you can get some double wizards. And same thing goes for obviously any of the creatures on your board at that point. So we can really manipulate our creature types. It does cost a mana to do that, which seems like nothing at first, but it starts to get a little fuzzy when I've cast a wizard because I wanted to get this double trigger. I briefly made Volo the thing, but now I've got another wizard in my hand. Now what am I doing? Now I'm paying 2 on top of it. It can start to add up if you brew it that way, where, am I getting a ton of value from this? I'm paying like 2 or 3 extra to pay this and get another one of it. Like maybe I'd just be better off if this was like a beast, or a worm, WURM,
Yeah.
But I still think it's neat. I still think it's very cool. In fact, Brave Sir Robin in our Discord, he brought up a really cool kind of version of this using Teferi's Veil. The enchantment, I'll just read it. It's whenever any creature you control attacks, it phases out at end of combat.
Ooh.
So you can attack with the creatures and they phase out, and then you're free to cast the ones that share the creature types with them, and then we can kind of do this dance where we get to sort of attack. And phasing out in general can kind of be helpful. There's a bunch of other phasing cards, and I never look at them because I don't fully understand how phasing works. Like I get the mechanic of it leaving and coming back. I just don't know when any of that happens. It comes back.
Yeah, it comes back at the beginning of your like untapped step or something like that. It's weird. They've like jammed it in the rules in such a way so like it's here the whole time from the beginning. It's fine. It's everything you expected. It doesn't need haste. It's can attack. It's there. It gets upkeep triggers. It gets everything.
And they recently changed it so that you can phase out tokens too. So you can even
you
can like attack with both the original card and the token. And they both phase out, and they will both phase back in. It didn't used to be like that. It used to be that tokens would die if they phased out.
Is there a Lost Cards brew out there? I was trying to rack my brain while we were going through it. I know a lot of cards. I mean, we don't have black, but a lot of cards bring things back, but it's a zombie now. So like we could like find a way to like make Volo a zombie, and now like other stuff is happening. I don't know if that's worth it, but it's something.
It's funny you mentioned that because throughout the brew, because we included some sacrifice outlets in the main show, I obviously kept coming across, this black card would be so good, and this black card would be so good. So like I know like anything is possible when it comes to secret commanders, but a Sultai Volo deck is very good.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot. First of all, there's just a lot of excellent black creatures, obviously, that have ETB abilities. And then there's a ton of really great sacrifice stuff, dies, triggers, any of that kind of stuff is fairly obvious to, when we're talking about expendable creatures like tokens and stuff. But I think that's another way to take this deck is to put Volo in somewhere where we're including other colors, like even making it banned. Getting some of those white creatures, some of those big angels and stuff, or a teamer for that matter. Getting access to haste with this ability is really powerful.
Yeah.
Crashing Drawbridge is like, buy your Crashing Drawbridges. I'm not saying they're going to be like expensive ever because they're an uncommon and I'm sure they'll print them a lot, but like get them when they're cheap because they're going to be, I feel like they're going to be one of those cards. Like eventually it's going to be like Swiftfoot Boots. It's going to be like $2 and you're going to want one for most of any of your decks that don't have red in them. So
they were printed at common.
Oh, it's common.
So,
okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Well,
Ooh,
I
what
felt
I
like
also noticed.
Swiftfoot Boots was a common for years.
I popped into the Discord right at the buzzer there, and MVP to Brave Sir Robin because he threw another idea out there. I'm not sure if you saw this, depending on the last time you've been to the Discord. You could do like just a cool creature roulette where you can just have a really good elk and a really good like everything. Like so you have more than enough cards to put in the deck, and you do that. I always love a deck that's like, okay, here's the main part of the deck, all my lands and Volo, and I'm going to shuffle in 50 of these 75 or 100 cards or whatever, and like every time I play, it's going to be different. Yeah. It's a real casual move because you're really not controlling the power level or the themes or the mechanics, but it's a nice way to like everyone's surprised that way.
I mean, that's one of the reasons we love playing limited. We love playing cube and stuff, is because you're going to get something different every time, obviously, right? And,
Yeah.
Well, that's obviously curated, it's chosen, it's drafting, but the pool you get to draft from is obviously different every time. So I love a deck like that. I love a deck that does that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Mess around. But then, you just got to make sure it's all unique, right? You need, if you're picking 30 creatures every time and, you're picking from 60 cards or something, you got to have true 60 unique, because you never want to double up. The only ones we doubled up with in the deck, I think, were druids and elves. I think there's like an elf druid, then there's like a something else druid, and then there's an elf something else. Those were our only double ups, I meant to say.
I think that could be really fun. It could be a really fun project to be like, what is my favorite elk?
Yeah. Elmer.
Burnished Heart.
Burnished Heart. Good one. Not an ETP trigger, but nice to have two. Nice to have
Sure.
two. It's nice to have two just about anything. And that's why Volo really comes through. It's a very fun deck. If you're into playing with some Simic value, get into it. You want a Shapeshifter Tribal, you want to mess around with Teferi's Veil, check it out. But we will be back next week. Brand new deck tech, brand new Lost Cards. So this episode's done, so check us out then.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too, and for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.